The offensive line is being built, and the rest of the league is already paying for underestimating this front office. A free agent is being projected as a day-one starter up front. The most important question surrounding this entire rebuild just got an answer that is going to split Raider Nation down the middle. A veteran defensive tackle is emerging as the move that could unlock this entire defense. And another franchise is getting publicly called out for letting the Raiders win the biggest bidding war of the offseason. If you bleed silver and black, this one is for you. The Raiders' offensive line is taking shape, and one of the names making noise right now is Spencer Burford, a 25-year-old guard who came over from the San Francisco 49ers in free agency on a one-year, $3.25 million deal. Sports Illustrated insider Hondo Carpenter went on the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast and said it flat out. He thinks Burford is going to be a starter in 2026. That is not a casual prediction. The offensive line was the worst unit on this roster last season, and Carpenter is already putting a new face in the starting five with real conviction. Here's what makes this different from just off-season noise. Burford spent a year with Clint Kubiak in San Francisco back in 2023. He already knows how this head coach operates, already understands the standard being set in this building, and that kind of familiarity does not hurt when you are a new face competing for a starting job against veterans and rookies. Carpenter laid out the full picture. Miller at left tackle, Linderbaum anchoring the center spot, Burford stepping in at right guard, and a right tackle who has shown he can perform at a high level. 3 new additions on this offensive line in a single offseason. He even said he pushed back on a national analyst who was still publicly ripping this line without doing the research on what this front office actually built. That is the kind of accountability that tells you people outside this building are starting to pay attention. Jackson Powers-Johnson is still in the conversation despite the trade noise coming from outside the building. Third-round rookie Trey Zune III brings the versatility this unit has never had. And now, Burford adds a direct connection to this coaching staff that gives him a real edge in the competition for a starting spot. This offensive line is not finished yet, but for the first time in years, every single move being made up front has a real plan behind it. The biggest question surrounding this entire rebuild just got a very specific answer, and it involves Fernando Mendoza. The #1 overall pick is going to start the 2026 season on the bench behind Kirk Cousins. That is the plan. That is what this front office decided. And Raider Nation needs to sit with that for a second before reacting, because there are 2 very different ways to feel about this, and both of them are completely valid. On one side, this makes sense. Mendoza is a rookie. He said it himself coming out of minicamp. There is a lot to learn, the repetitions under center matter, the reads need to get faster, the footwork needs to get cleaner. His exact words. He is not pretending to be ready for week 1. He is being honest about where he is in his development and what it is going to take to get where this franchise needs him to be. And sitting behind a veteran like Kirk Cousins gives him time to absorb the system without the weight of an entire fan base's expectations crushing him before he is ready to carry it. That is the smart play for a rebuilding team with no pressure to win right now. On the other side, this is still a gut punch. Raider Nation has been waiting for a real quarterback for years. The #1 pick in the entire draft is sitting on this roster right now, and he is not going to be the starter when week 1 kicks off. That is the reality. And the most concerning question hanging over this entire season is not whether Mendoza is talented. Everybody already knows he is. The question is when this coaching staff pulls the trigger and hands him the keys. Because the longer they wait, the more that timeline becomes the story. Mendoza himself said his best football is ahead of him, and that he is looking forward to earning the respect of his teammates from the bottom up. That mentality is exactly what you want from a franchise quarterback. But Raider Nation is not a patient fan base, and this front office better have a clear plan for when this kid takes over, because the whole nation is watching every single snap. The line is being built, and Mendoza is learning behind Cousins. Both moves that make sense, but hit differently depending on how much patience you have left. So here is what I want Raider Nation to answer. Do you trust this staff to handle Mendoza's development the right way? Or are you already worried they wait too long to give him the keys? Drop it in the comments and subscribe if you are not part of this community yet, because the next story is the move that makes this defense dangerous. The interior defensive line is the last real hole on this roster, and right now, Larry Ogunjobi is the name being connected to Las Vegas as the veteran disruptor who could close it for good. 10-year veteran, gap shooting specialist, a 3-technique tackle with an explosive first step who eats double teams and forces offenses to account for him on every single snap. And the math on this move is almost impossible to argue with. The Raiders are sitting on an estimated $83 to $87 million in cap space after the draft. Ogunjobi's projected market value sits at around $5 million. That is the definition of a no-brainer, a low-risk, high-reward move for a team that has the space to make it and a glaring need to fill right now. Here's what this actually means for this defense beyond just the numbers. The problem in the middle has never just been about finding a warm body. It has been about finding a disruptor who forces offenses to stay honest and commands attention away from the edges. Without that interior presence, opposing offenses can slide their protection toward Maxx Crosby, scheme around him, and take away the most dangerous player on this defense before the ball is even snapped. Ogunjobi changes that equation entirely. He is a legitimate game wrecker who demands a double team, and the moment offenses have to account for him in the middle, Crosby becomes even harder to stop on the outside. Pair those two together, and suddenly this pass rush looks completely different from anything this defense has put on the field in years. The Raiders also have young developmental pieces, like Jaquelin Roy, who are still growing at the position. A 2-year bridge deal with Ogunjobi gives those players the time they need while keeping this defense competitive and dangerous right now. SpyTech has built this roster piece by piece all offseason. The offensive line is coming together, the linebacker room got upgraded, and if Ogunjobi lands in Las Vegas, it sends a message to everyone in the AFC West that this team is done with the rebuilding label. We feel this in our chest. Every single one of us knows exactly what a move like this would mean for what this defense could become in 2026. The rest of the league is starting to feel the pain of losing out on Tyler Linderbaum, and the Washington Commanders are the ones getting called out for it publicly right now. Kevin Sheehan of the Team 980 said it straight in a May 12th video. Washington should have outbid the Raiders for Linderbaum, plain and simple. The Raiders signed him in March on a 3-year deal worth $81 million with $60 million guaranteed per NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Sheehan's point is simple and direct. Commanders GM Adam Peters could have paid $3 or $4 million more per year and taken Linderbaum away from Las Vegas. He didn't. And now, Washington is sitting with an offensive line question, while the Raiders have the best center available anchoring this rebuild. Last season with the Ravens, Linderbaum posted a 79.8 overall PFF grade, an 83.2 run blocking grade, and a 63.4 pass blocking grade. He allowed 26 total pressures, gave up 2 sacks, 1 hit, and picked up 5 penalties. That is a Pro Bowl caliber center by any honest measure. Sheehan said he would not normally advocate for resetting the market at a position, but made clear that Linderbaum is exactly the kind of player worth making an exception for. His words painted a clear picture. Laramie Tunsil, Sam Cosmi, and Tyler Linderbaum as 3/5 of an offensive line. He called it impressive, and he is right. That is a line built to compete at a high level. Meanwhile, in Las Vegas, Linderbaum is already building real chemistry with the people around him. Third-round rookie Trey Zune spoke with reporters on May 2nd and had nothing but good things to say about fellow rookie Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback he and Linderbaum will be protecting this season. Zune called Mendoza a guy's guy, easy to talk to, a great leader from day one. That is a small detail, but the kind of detail that tells you the culture being built around this offensive line is already pointing in the right direction. Offensive line taking shape. Mendoza learning behind Cousins. Ogunjobi emerging as the move that changes this defense. And the rest of the league regretting sleeping on this front office. 4 stories, 1 question. Is this roster one move away from being dangerous in the AFC West? Or does SpyTech still have real work left to do? Share this with every Raiders fan you know and drop your take in the comments, because this is Raider Nation's conversation to have. Burford is a projected day 1 starter. Mendoza is behind Cousins, learning the system, waiting for his moment. Ogunjobi is the move that makes this defense dangerous. And Linderbaum is already making other franchises regret not paying more to take him away from Las Vegas. This roster is not finished, but the direction is real and the AFC West better start paying attention. Drop your take in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives by just win, baby, and never walked away from the silver and black.